Something big is happening right before our eyes here in 2023, and almost no one is talking about it.
So the stocks that everybody owns are going down, and the stocks that nobody owns, except a few people, are going way up, and they're going up in relative obscurity.
The moves that Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin are making, which are completely going to alter the international power structure and the monetary system, and the mainstream media is largely ignoring it. The Washington, of course, is asleep at the wheel, dealing with all of the crybaby drama over Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, or they're worried about which NFL team is making the playoffs. But very smart people are paying attention. Very smart multi-million-dollar investors that I've been speaking with know exactly what's coming.
And I think 2023 could end up being one of the weakest years ever for the U.S. dollar.
The new monetary world order under Russian President Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping. It's unfolding exactly as we're predicting over the past year, with major indicators in the past few hours. So I want to get to all of these new stunning pieces of news right now. But first, this morning, we just had a bomb go off, and we knew that this was coming. And Putin knew that this was coming. You have warmongers Condoleeza Rice and Robert Gates, just published a brand new article in the Washington Post calling for all-out war against Russia. I love that the Washington Post just gives them a platform to spew this agenda, but it comes directly from the intelligence state. Then the Washington Post publishes it, and this, of course, is the new marching orders for the neoconservatives in Washington. And Democrats, they're all on board with this. The article is called "Time is Not on Ukraine's Side." And it's a direct call to action to send a massive buildup of weapons and forces to fight Russia. Now, remember, Condoleezza Rice is a war criminal whose illegal war in Iraq led to the deaths of millions of people. That's on her resume. And then she's been calling for a war with Russia for over a decade now. Here she is 8 years ago, laying out how Russia is trying to change the unipolar order.
And when great powers start behaving badly, it gets really dangerous. We have now, I think, a very dangerous, perfect storm between a leader who is unreconciled to the post-war, post-Cold War order in Europe, willing to use a combination of economic pressure, military force, intimidation, and surrogates to get his way to try to undo that order.
So Condoleezza Rice has been pushing for a confrontation with Putin for a very long time. Her words should not be taken lightly. We now have a new bloodthirsty Congress with a new Speaker of the House last night, Kevin McCarthy, the guy who literally wears a Ukrainian flag pin and had dinner with Klaus Schwab and promised to fund an endless war in Ukraine last week. So if you don't think for a second that crap is about to hit the fan, then you are not paying attention. Maybe a lot of people are still in their Christmas fog and they're, still drunk or hungover. I don't know, but stuff's about to get serious. Even deeper in this Washington Post piece is the very important paragraph about minerals and precious metals that I want to call your attention to. So if you needed any more evidence that this is a war about power and mineral resources, natural resources, here you go. There are two important paragraphs that I want to point out. So here's what Condoleezza Rice and Bob Gates say, quote, "For Putin, defeat is not an option. He cannot cede to Ukraine the 4 eastern provinces that he has declared part of Russia. If he cannot be militarily successful this year, he must retain control of positions in eastern and southern Ukraine that provide future jumping-off points for renewed offensives, to take the rest of Ukraine's Black Sea coast, control the entire Donbas region, and then move west. 8 years separated Russia's seizure of Crimea and its invasion nearly a year ago. Count on Putin to be patient to achieve his destiny," they write. So she knows Russia can't lose. And here's the important section that she mentions briefly. Quote, "Meanwhile, although Ukraine's response to the invasion has been heroic and its military has performed brilliantly, the country's economy is in shambles, millions of its people have fled, its infrastructure is being destroyed, and much of its mineral wealth, industrial capacity, and considerable agriculture land are under Russia's control." Forget the agriculture piece of this. It's the mineral wealth. It might be the most important part of this entire article. She sneaks it in quickly. Lithium, gold, iron ore, uranium, all under Putin's control. That's what this is all about. So her solution? Quote, the only way to avoid such a scenario is for the United States and its allies to urgently provide Ukraine with a dramatic increase in military supplies and capability, sufficient to deter a renewed Russian offensive and to enable Ukraine to push back Russian forces in the east and the south. Oh, okay. So as she says, the only way for this to end is for the United States to dramatically ramp up the war and push Russian forces out of eastern Ukraine and back into mainland Russia. Okay, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? Nothing to see here. Ukraine's army has been destroyed. So the people that would be doing this fighting are NATO forces, i.e. American forces, UK forces, French forces. So in other words, the United States doesn't have the mineral resources to compete any longer, and the only way to compete globally is to go to war with Russia over these resources in eastern Ukraine. The United States has 0 lithium mines in the United States, no uranium drilling in the United States for nuclear, nothing. The other piece of this is China. So you think China is going to stand by and allow the United States to grab all of these minerals? No, they're not. They're making deals right now as we speak with Russia for these minerals. In fact, China is already doing 3 things. A massive increase in military spending, a massive increase in gold buying, and a massive deal that they just struck with the Saudis after Joe Biden failed to do so. Biden's trip to Saudi Arabia was mocked as a joke. Xi Jinping's visit was praised as a milestone, a total FU to the United States. So late last year, we noticed that there was a massive mystery buyer of gold and other precious metals. Who was buying up all of the world's gold? Well, we found out just a few days ago who it was. It was, in fact, China. The mystery buyer, we now know, was China, had bought some 300 tons of gold, roughly 3/4 of what would be a record 399 tons of central bank gold purchases in the third quarter. Here's the stunning chart. So that's just China. What about Russia? Stockpiling gold. Look at Russia's reserves of gold. Why? Why are both China and Russia stockpiling precious metals? Well, Nikkei analysts have an answer. China and other countries are hurrying to reduce dependence on the U.S. dollar. Now, this is just one of the reasons gold prices hit a 6-month high this past week. The U.S. dollar is in trouble as a reserve currency of the world. And then on top of all of this, we had another bomb go off over the last few days. This bomb was big, and it went viral in the financial world. The head of the Kansas Federal Reserve, Esther George, set off this bomb. Now, let me give you some context about Esther here and tell you what she said. Esther George is a highly respected member of the Fed, Fed president. She's been on this job for a long time now, I think 40 years, and she's retiring. She is wrapping up her tenure. So she doesn't give a rat's behind about what politicians think of her. She's gone. She's not looking for another job, She's out the door very soon. So she's speaking the truth. I love when people like this aren't afraid anymore. They're unfettered, because that's when the good stuff comes out. So more context here. The Kansas Fed is the Center for Research, meaning this is the Fed that we go to see what the real numbers are showing us. They have these numbers. They do the heavy lifting. So Esther George was interviewed on CNBC. And here is the bomb that she dropped.
We understand that high inflation is going to require our action. So we have been moving our forecast up to higher levels. You saw that in the most recent dot plot that came out in December. And I think holding that until we get confidence that inflation is actually coming down is really the message we're trying to put out there.
I don't really have to ask you this question because I've got a 17 out of 19 chance of being right. You're over 5% when it comes to your outlook for the funds rate in 2020.
I have raised my forecast over 5%.
Could you tell us where you are? I don't remember if you're one of the folks that tells us that.
Well, I think I'll be over 5%, and I see staying there for some time.
Is that well into 2024?
It is for me.
Wow.
Wow. Did you catch that? So let me paraphrase. The experiment is over, basically. It failed. Low interest rates, kept artificially low by the Fed, was a failure. And inflation is going to stay high for the foreseeable future, well into 2024 and beyond. And she thinks the Fed needs to raise interest rates, keep them over 5% interest rates. Party time is over. No more cheap money, No more 0% loans, no more cheap mortgages, no more cheap car loans. She thinks that this is the best and only way to fix the problem. Keep interest rates high. Stop printing fake money and giving out money to Wall Street with 0% interest. And if that's not enough of a kick in the nuts, yesterday, former Obama Treasury Secretary Larry Summers says that we need to start laying people off, firing people in order to deal with this inflation problem. That's the only way to do it. All of this fake money. And he issued this statement laying people off from his beach resort with palm trees in the background. Watch.
They explicitly recognize that there's going to need to be increases in unemployment to contain inflation.
So he's at a beach resort telling you that you need to get ready for layoffs. You're going to lose your job because all of this fake printing of money wasn't backed by gold, wasn't backed by anything. Wall Street got incredibly wealthy. Average people get screwed. Inflation is high and is going to stay high for the foreseeable future. And the best way to fix it is to keep interest rates high and fire a lot of people. No wonder that China and Russia are running to gold as fast as they can away from the collapsing US dollar. When you see a guy like Larry Summers hanging out on a beach resort telling people they got to lose their jobs in order to fix the economy, that's a big middle finger. That's the news update part of this video. Now, I want to tell you about the sponsor for today's video, which is tied directly into the precious metal space. They could explode in value over the next couple of years. They are a company called Clarity Metals out of Canada. And what they're doing in the gold and lithium space is just astonishing. Now, I'm going to show you how they are positioned right now. This is a company that is in one of the hottest lithium mining camps in Canada right now. Take a look at this map and I'll explain why this is important. This is the Lithium 381 property in Quebec. This is one of the hottest lithium camps in the world. Notice the other companies drilling at that same spot right here. See these other companies? Alchem is a $7 billion company. It's also drilling on this property right now. Osico is a $1.3 billion company. They are drilling in this exact same camp right now. Patriot Metals is a $500 million company. They're drilling on this property. And by the way, they struck a big lithium patch and their stock shot up 200% as a result. That was Patriot. And now the smallest one of this bunch is Clarity Metals. They are just a small $5 million company. So it's like being on the ground floor before their market cap explodes, before their stock shoots up in value. This could be one of the best ground floor lithium plays in North America right now. Now, just to put a finer point on this, these other huge market cap companies are drilling and exploring in the same lithium camp as Clarity Metals. So it's a great risk reward opportunity. Now, Clarity's stock ticker is CLGCF, and they are trading as of today on this Sunday at just 11 cents a share right now. That's off their all-time high back in 2021 when they were trading at $1.20, about $1.20 a share. And then the entire stock market plummeted and $35 trillion in equities was wiped away. So this is a stock poised for a big breakout. Again, 11 cents a share right now. And just a few days ago, Clarity announced that they are advancing and doing their remote sensing work on this 381 lithium camp. This means that the sensing work will allow them to identify possible lithium deposits and then to start drilling in those specific areas. Now, the great thing about this company is that they are not only a lithium producer, they're a gold producer. And with the gold demand that's skyrocketing right now, and gold skyrocketing in value over the last 6 months.
In fact, gold stocks are already up about 11% in the first 4 trading days of the year, although today, the fourth day isn't even over yet. We'll see what happens. But we've seen some incredible strength in gold mining stocks. They have continued their stealth bull market. Many of these stocks are up 40, 50, 100% from where they were 4 or 5 months ago. So this is a big move. And during that same period of time, by the way, the NASDAQ has actually gone down.
So this is a well-diversified company in the minerals sector. I'm incredibly bullish on these projects, the potential for this stock to explode. So here is their ticker again on the screen. It's CLGCF. You'll need to use one of the bigger brokerages like E-Trade or TD Ameritrade to buy this stock. And do your own due diligence on this company. And you can look at their other lithium and gold projects right now. The demand for lithium of course, worldwide is off the charts, right? We saw lithium prices skyrocket 4 times, 4x over the last year. And you have Tesla running around like a chicken with its head cut off right now, trying to get access to lithium for its batteries. And the demand across the board for these batteries and the lithium minerals is through the roof. So Tesla is having to go to Latin America to try to find lithium. So the United States has nothing available and very small production right now in North America. Again, if we're trying to position North American economies away from China and away from Russia, you cannot rely on Russia and China's minerals in order to create that autonomy. So that's why these gold producers that I'm so bullish on, these minerals producers in North America, are incredibly important. The Biden administration and Republicans have all thrown their weight behind additional resources to bring these minerals out of the ground. They know how important this is going forward. And by the way, Putin and Xi Jinping could immediately flip the switch because they're making deals among themselves. They could immediately flip the switch and say, we are not sending any of these minerals to you, in the same way that we've been warning you about what they would do with uranium. They could flip the switch and say, sorry, we're enriching uranium for ourselves. We're not sending it to you anymore. We'll continue to send some to Japan, but the United States, sorry, screw you. We're not sending any to you. So these small junior producers who are getting their legs right now and starting to grow and starting to do this exploration, we desperately, desperately need them to be successful. And that's why I'm incredibly bullish in this entire sector. So go and look at their lithium and gold projects right now. Look at Clarity Metals and see what they're working on. Again, as of this recording, their stock is trading for 11 cents a share. Go ahead and check them out, and we'll see you next time, everyone.